In this video, I'm going to share with you an upgrade to your DeWalt 735 thickness planer that's going to help you improve your precision and accuracy. Let's get into it. This is the DeWalt 735 thickness planer, and since its introduction in 2003, this planer has become the de facto standard for small woodworking shops. Now overall, it's great for post design, 3 blades on the cutting head. It's really a beast of a planer, and one that I've had for a little while now. I bought this one used, and one of the things that after I bought it used, I wanted to do some upgrades to it. Some of the upgrades, of course, is going to include like a spherical head with carbide cutters, but one of the other upgrades that I wanted to do was to add a digital thickness gauge. If you have the 735, chances are you're already familiar with the actual analog height gauge that this planer has. And as you can see here, it's a scale that goes from 0 to 6, and it's supposed to give you a representation of the thickness of the piece that you're working on. It's a fairly simple scale, but when I'm actually planing pieces, I don't really use it. I just use it basically as kind of a general visual reference. But when I'm finishing the cuts, I'm actually going to use something like this. These are Mitutoyo digital calipers. I got these about 30 years ago when I was doing machining work. So these are very nice digital caliper. You don't have to buy this level of quality. You can buy general stuff, and that's really going to give you what you need to know. You don't necessarily need to know thickness down to 1/1000th of an inch for woodworking. So in modern times, most any of the digital calipers that are available in the market will suffice. But I really wanted to have a digital gauge on the machine that's made by Wixey. And in October 2025, Woodcraft put the Wixey Digital Planer Readout with fractions on sale for $20 off. So that made this $80 meter only 60 bucks, which was a great deal. From what I understand about this, it's a fairly simple process and a simple set of accessories. Oh gosh, oh, there are staples here, okay. At least they secured it well. Let's see what comes with it. We've got our digital scale and everything we need to mount. This will all mount to the existing analog scale, and then that's fine. In here must be the parts. Inside here is a large bolt. We're going to have to take that and put this into this little nut kind of thing, and that's actually going to help us set the level for the zero part of the gauge. So along with our bag of parts comes an instruction manual that will tell us exactly how to install this. One of the first things it does say is to put I think we have to put a battery in. So the battery is a little door here, so you need to pull down on it and, all right. Crap, what is up with this? Oh, there we go. Oh. No batteries. Let me go get some of that. Now that I have some batteries, we're going to put them in. Oh God, wrong size. Son of a AAA, not AA. All right, let's try this again. I got the AAA batteries. Wixey, if you're watching this, it would be really nice if you did like this angle gauge, which I really like. If you put batteries with this, that would be so much very helpful. And the reason I wanted to make sure this is all done is that in case there's any kind of issue, I want to be able to return it before I do anything. All right, so it works. Perfect. Now on the top here, there's 3 buttons. There's an on-off calibrate button. There is an absolute and incremental button, and then a button to switch between millimeters and imperial. So we're just going to turn it off for the time being. Okay, maybe it never turns off. So the first thing we need to do is to take off this cursor from the factory. And that is done by removing these 2 Phillips head screws that are in here. Now you can use a #1 Phillips screwdriver like this. And for convenience sake, try to have one of these magnetic cup holders so that you can keep all of your parts together. It's just going to help you from losing anything, and it's a nice thing, it's magnetic, so it sticks right here. Now you can also use a #1 bit on a driver if you want to use that, although I think for this it's a little bit overkill. Yeah, that's a #2 and that does not fit. Let's go back to this #1. Whoops. Now we've got this all nice and clean and nothing's in our way. We're going to be using these 2 holes later and the screws as well for part of this assembly. Now, one of the things I also want to remind you is that when you're working on the machine, even though everything we're doing is external of the actual planer, make sure that the power switch is off and that the cable is disconnected from power. I know some of you might think that's a bit annoying to talk about, but really it's about your safety and you not getting injury. And even though we're on the outside of the machine, and you're probably thinking, dude, we're on the outside of the machine, what is there to worry about? You just never know. You just never know what could happen, and I'd rather you not take that chance and to be safe so that you can make woodworking stuff for a lot longer to come. Now, before we begin, we want to make sure we understand and have all of our proper items. We've got this angle slot that we're going to use. There is a drill bit, nice. Another angle thing that's going to go to that because it'll eventually go there. Some more bolts, and then another bracket that we might not be using. This kit can also be used for the lunchbox style 734 DeWalt planer. So I think some of the parts that are included with this kit are for that unit and not necessarily the 735. So as I mentioned earlier, this bolt is actually a leveling bolt. This is what's going to allow us to level this scale to the whole planer. Now, one of the things we want to do is we want to take the digital scale off. It actually is on this slider. And as you can see, it kind of springs back because there's a spring back here. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to disconnect the spring. And all you have to do is just pull up on it like that. And that'll disconnect it, and now you have this is now completely free. This is actually going to mount here, and this leveling screw is going to go down to the surface of the cart. So this bar right here, this piece right here, needs to be level with the bed of the planer. And part of the way to do that is we're going to use this screw to push up and down on this mount to level it with the table. And in that vein, you're going to want to have a straight edge that you trust. I have this Wood River straight edge that I really like using. We're just going to lay that here across the bed of the planer. Now, if you have the 735X, which this is, that has the in-feed and out-feed tables, these extensions, don't put that on here. It won't reach. Make sure that it's on the main bed that's attached to the chassis of your planer. And that's what we're going to use as the reference point. And as you can see, we are proud. We are very proud. All right, that's still too proud. Almost there, almost there. Oh, I think that might actually be level. I am pushing down on here to see if we can get some rocking action, and it looks like all right, that's it. Ha 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 ha. The next step is we're going to actually affix it to the scale itself. And on the back here, there are two sticky tape things. So now we just need to align it up here, remove the protective backing. All right, there we go. Now we press it down a little bit. The next step is actually to get in here and put some screws into this hole and this hole. So just take your drill, and now we're just going to get in here and put a hole in the center there. Just press it up against the metal. Whoa. Whoa. Now you're going to notice there are some shavings here from the cutting, so we want to just clear that out. Got these other cap head screws here, so we're just going to put that in. And that should work. Now the next thing we want to do is to put back this. So now this we're going to position here and then use the double washer to lock it in and to use our original screws. In this case, I think it's much easier to come in with a screwdriver to help set everything up, just because you get more finesse out of it, right? Just more control. We're not going to cinch it down. We're just going to lightly screw it in. This bracket actually screws onto this screw here. I'm going to take that out. Now there is a washer, as you can see, so do be careful not to lose those. That washer is going to give us the width and the purchase on the channel in that bracket. Wow, there's a lot of threads on this one. That's going to go here. Just got to wedge it in there first. Looks like we can get it to work that way. Okay. Then the bolt. This is where I think we might be better off with the drill. Okay, good. Scale. I'm going to tighten that one down just so it doesn't move anything. And then we should be able to go up here tighten this. We need to put this back together. That's such a pain in the ass. In order for us to do the calibration, we want to make sure that we have everything set up to set the scale where it needs to be. So as you can see here, I've got the hard stop set to 1/4 of an inch. And because it's set to 1/4 of an inch, we're going to drop this down until it reaches the hard stop. There we go. The next thing we're going to do is to adjust the top of this scale to where the height of the planer, which is right here, 1/4 of an inch. Bring that to there. And then now we're going to tighten this screw in to lock it in place. As we continue adding the Wixey gauge to this 735, I just want to take a moment to tell you that this video is not sponsored. So everything that you see here, I paid for with my own money, on my own, separate. There's no sponsorships or anything like that. But if you're interested and enjoy this channel and enjoy the content that we're making, you're interested in helping continue that, do consider buying coffee for yourself and for your workshop. I run a company called Spur Coffee here in Baltimore, Maryland. We make coffee and buy some really nice stuff, and it's really the way that I make my living normally. I also have another channel on YouTube here called Ono Coffee, and that's all about coffee. So if you're interested in coffee, come check it out. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, buy coffee. You're actually buying coffee for yourself, for your own personal enjoyment. But by buying coffee, you help me to be able to do this for fun and bring you hopefully more interesting and informative content. In order for us to test the calibration, we're going to run a couple boards through it to make sure that everything is just the right depth and everything is properly calibrated. To do this, I've got these two pieces of walnut that are actually the same piece, and they should be the same thickness. These have already been planed. These have already been jointed and planed, but we're going to, and so they are flat for the most part. So we're going to use this as kind of a reference. We're going to take this and measure the thickness of our board. And these are 16.84. But before I use any power tools, I want to talk to you about shop safety. Be sure to read, understand, and follow all the safety rules that come with your power tools. Knowing how to use your power tools properly will reduce the risk of injury. And remember this, there is no more safety rule than to wear these safety glasses. Now I ran this through, we planed off just a little bit off the top of here. So we milled off just about 0.1 millimeter. So there's 16.74, 16.65. And we're going to lift up the scale. And you can see the bottom here opens up. We're going to put that inside, and where's the plain side that was measuring? Put it right there. We're going to put it right there. As you can see here, it says negative 83.25, but we're going to calibrate this. We're going to take the on-off calibration, press down on it for 3 to 5 seconds, remove, and now we have 0.665 inches. Let's go to millimeters, 16.9 millimeters. So everything looks great. Now, if we take this, we can go up and down on it and know our scale. And that's pretty much the entire method of putting the gauge on and then calibrating it to your planer. But you might be wondering, why would I need to spend the money on this kind of thing? It has this other scale. I could just use that. Well, you certainly don't need to have this scale. And for the longest time, I didn't use a scale like this. I was using calipers much like these to actually measure the boards. And that's what I would do. I would sit there, plane some boards, come back, check the thickness, and make sure that they were all even, and then I would go do the project. So if you're batching all of your material together, it's really not a big deal. However, let's say you have a project that you're working on, you make a mistake as you're in the middle of assembling it, and you need to make another part. That needs to be planed to the same thickness. Now I can just simply measure the piece that I need to replace, get that thickness, and instead of me having to work my way down to it, I can easily see on this scale exactly the thickness that I'm going to need. So I can easily work my way down to 16.9 millimeters just by planing and planing and planing. lowering it each time, and then we're good to go. So I think it's really a great accessory to use with this tool, precisely for that reason. It's really quite a simple operation overall. It shouldn't take you that long. It's taken me a long time to put it in, mainly because I'm stopping and shooting and stopping and shooting again, setting up, moving the camera around. But if you did this all by yourself, all alone, and like really focused on it, you could probably get it done in like under an hour. It's really quite straightforward, and I think it's going to be a really great addition to this system. The DeWalt 735 planer has really been a great performer for me. I really like it, and this will just help make it a little bit better. Again, I hope you enjoy this content, and if you do, please consider buying coffee from SpurrowCoffee.com. But otherwise, thank you very much for tuning in, and see you next time. Oh yeah, Baltimore, baby.